everybody, and welcome once again to the Meat Grinder Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Patrick Bowley. With me is Paguaga, and joining us this week is the, let's see, this is always tough. It's the fourth season, fifth year, right? Or were you there the fifth year, coach? It's Tyler Wilcox of Haddam-Killingworth, who took over for Eric Becker. He's an alumnus at the program after COVID. He played there, 09 graduate. And now he's got his Cougs off to a great start, headed into a game versus Cromwell Portland, defending champs at his place. Wow, what a time to be a Cougar. Coach, welcome. We'll get to the questions in a second. Welcome. How you doing?
Good, guys. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. I've been following you guys for a long time. I appreciate it. I'm going into year 4 right now as the head coach. So
it's year 4. So you weren't. It was Eric during COVID, and you took over after that.
Correct. Yep. So, I was with Coach Backlick prior. Yep.
Right. Okay. So, all right. Gotcha. All right. So, let's just jump right into it. I mean, I don't think anyone saw you guys coming. I'm looking at your preview that we wrote up way back in August. Let's see, August 9th, which is a little early. Oh, well. But, we list 3 guys, and, we got a bunch of guys coming back. But, you guys won 3 straight going into the season, and now you're off to a great start. Only lost once. That was the Capital Prep in a pretty early game. But since then, I mean, obviously, you took out who was it earlier? Valley. Was it Valley you guys took out? No, that's the end of the year. I'm thinking.
We took out Stafford early, and then we had that North Branford.
That's what it was. It was that was what it was. It was the North Branford win. I always think I forget you played Valley at the end of the year. But it was the North Branford win where you guys just absolutely torched them, and everybody I was walking up to was like, "Oh my goodness, where did HK come from?" So why don't you just lighten us all right now, and where'd you guys come from?
Yeah, the kids had a good end of the year. Last year, we got off to a slow start. We only had a few seniors. Last year it was a young group. A lot of sophomores were playing. The juniors was a pretty strong class for us. They're now seniors. There's 16 of them. And then we have 15 juniors that are right behind them that they've been competing with each other ever since they got the opportunity. They got the taste of that varsity the second half of last year. And that actually started with that North Branford game last year that we fell behind by 2 touchdowns early. Couldn't tackle Tommy, great player. AJ's great player as well, too. And we look back at that game last year with the preparation. We were like, guys, we're right there if we make a couple tackles. Like, that was a shootout last year. So we knew going into this season we had our opportunities. We won a lot of games down the stretch. We took care of Valley for the Principals Cup for the first time. So that win right there carried the momentum for what the guys knew they were capable of doing this year. So they worked hard all off season. That first game against Capital Prep was a little bit of a hiccup. Much respect to Coach Mildridge and what they're doing over there and Hashim and those guys. We'd love to have that one back, maybe possibly get another opportunity down the road. So that one was a 6-point loss there. And then from there, we were like, guys, we're better than that, right? We know what we're doing. We know what we're capable of. Got back to work, took care of Stafford that second week. Much respect to Coach Mazzone and the Bulldogs there with what he's done with that program. And we were like, guys, we got to roll now. We gave up our one early, so we know what we got to do the rest of the way.
Do you think you could sneak up on everybody a little bit? I mean, do you feel like you've done that? I don't know. Just from my perspective, you have. But maybe you guys knew what you had. It sounds like. But did everyone else? No.
Right, and we took that role. We knew we were going to come from under the radar. Right. There wasn't a lot of preseason hype about us. A lot of it was North Branford, Capital Prep. What's Cromwell going to do with Coach Morello and those guys, and what Valley's bringing back as well. We knew we were
very directed at us.
we knew what we were capable of, right? So we were like, okay, guys, we know what we have in this room. Nobody else really knows what we have. We were a 4-6 team last year. We're coming back, returning everybody except for 2 starters. So again, internally, we knew what we had. The kids believe it. The kids have worked for it. The coaching staff's done a great job behind the scenes. The kids, administration, we have a great group here at HK. I love being here. And these kids, like I said, it's all the kids and the preparation they're doing and the work that they're putting in week and week out for us.
Coach, you talked about, kind of you guys got going as the year went last year. And you guys are putting up points. So you ended last year winning your final 3 games, outscoring your opponents 84-27. Was there a moment where things kind of turned? Because you have taken the high scoring, obviously the wins, but you guys are putting up some numbers. Was there a moment last year where things kind of flipped for you guys where it clicked and it's like, hey, we're moving on, we're grooving now?
Yeah, it was really that bye week going into North Branford last year. We go back to that. We still talk about it to this day where we had that extra week of preparation. The offense really started clicking again. It was a young group last year compared to the year past where that was an upperclassman heavy group too. And these guys were a lot of sophomores. So they're really learning the offense, learning the system. What can we do with them? What can't we do with some of these guys, and really putting them in the right places. And then as we went down the stretch, they grew more and more confident. They're coming in, they're watching more film, that weekly preparation again. And now this year, it's a really upperclassman heavy group. We can do a lot of different things that we haven't necessarily been able to do the last year and a half. So that stuff's really starting to blossom, and the kids are really looking at it more as a week-to-week approach. And what can we do? What can we take advantage of? And we've luckily been on the good end of that, being able to accomplish some of those specific plays we've been prepping for each week. And the kids, like I said, really buying into it. They're the ones executing it on the field, right? So they've done a great job with that throughout the season. And that was the one thing I preached this year. I'm a heavy offensive guy. We got off to a slow start last year. At times we fell behind either 7-0, 14-0. We had to climb our way out of a couple holes there. So this year we wanted to fire off fast. We wanted to put points on the board quick, play with a lead, and we've been able to do that for most of the season. Last week we fell behind a little bit, but they really came together in the second half.
But it seems like that defense has really been really strong for you this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the defense, they've really bought into those kids. A lot of them, again, it's that same thing. They're upperclassmen now. They've had that game experience last year when they were sophomores and juniors. Those varsity reps, those are important reps, even if you're a younger underclassman there. And those guys, again, that film prep, the work those guys are doing, the defensive staff, the coaches, they're doing a great job this year. I believe last time we looked, we were around 10 points we were averaging, 10, 12 points. So much better than last year where we were giving up around high 20s, low 30s at some points of the season. So they've really tightened up that side as well.
Yeah. Well, tell me some of the guys who have really kind of stepped it up this year for you, really been a linchpin for you guys.
Yeah, we'll start with the offensive line. There's a few guys on there. Hunter Leslie is a senior captain. He was an all-conference player last year. One of the toughest guys we've ever had. Big boy, too. He's in the weight room all the time, working hard. Trevor Dixon, he was actually a first-time high school player. He's a returning two-time all-conference player. He's a senior captain as well. Those guys anchor the line of scrimmage there. Trevor's also a linebacker for us on the defensive side. Hunter's the defensive end up front. And then some of the skill guys we had Josh Frith carrying the load here. Unfortunately, he went down with an injury against Morgan. But we got a loaded backfield. So next man up mentality for that. Tyler Napierkowski filled in. They're both real good buddies. He's taking the reins now of the running back position. And then receivers, we have Joe Slane. He's scored in every single game, whether it's offensively or defensively, number 12. He was an all-conference player last year as well. And then we got Ryan Rafferty back, another senior as well. He lost a lot of time last year due to an injury, unfortunately. So we got him back in the secondary and in the receiving core. And then Bryce Lacoste is our second-year starter at quarterback, making plays with his legs, and he's taking care of the ball, right? That's the most important thing from that quarterback position. And offensively, we've been able to win those turnover margins pretty handedly throughout the season so far.
Well, what can you tell us about this week's game? I mean, again, you said you had a little bit of a hiccup week one. But since then, it's been all kind of like all gas, no brakes type of stuff. And, and now you go into a game that they lost also. They dominated this conference. And now, you saw a little bit of, I don't want to say weakness, but you can see that they can be beat. The mystique might be off a little bit. But, tell me about this matchup. I'm sure you're glad to have it at your place.
Yeah, we're happy to be back home. With some of these big games the last couple of years have been on the road. So we're happy to have it back home at HK. Coach Morello, great guy. I've known him for a long time. He was actually at HK back when I was in middle school. So he was on the staff there before he started that Cromwell program. So know him well, much respect. Visited some of his Middletown practices when he was there when I first started coaching after college. Again, he's one of those idols, those guys that are true coaches in Connecticut. He does a great job with every program he's ever been a part of in every single sport. So we know what we're up against. The kids this year, they're ready for it. Last year was kind of a shot going in there. We caught a little blindside right away. We got down early quick. We know this year we can't let that happen. We got to come out firing right away. And like you said, all gas, no brakes. These kids, we keep saying we're all in, we're coming, we're here now. These guys, they know what they're capable of now. They have that confidence that they're playing with. So we got to continue going into this big one on Friday night.
Now you guys still have that. You guys still have that grass field, right? And Valley got turf. You guys ain't changes, right?
Yeah, we still have grass right now. We take that as home field advantage. Some of those turf teams that come in later in the season don't do as well on that slippery wet grass with the dew on Friday nights, especially if it's a little wet. So that field, we'll see what happens. A little dry. We don't have any rain, but we'll see what happens.
Well, you haven't had any rain, so maybe the growth is not where you want it to be at this point.
Right.
I mean, Pete, I would show up there. I mean, I don't know. You probably did too when we showed up for the Principal's Cup, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was like going through the jungle down there.
They keep it a little bit on the longer side.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the last I don't know how many teams have got grass, but I mean, your kids must love it, huh?
They do. They prefer to be on the grass.
Yeah.
I played at college on the turf. I prefer the turf personally, but hey, you play with what you got. So the kids enjoy playing on the grass. They know it's a home field advantage at times for a lot of these turf teams, like we mentioned, and they love playing on it. They love being able to have the lights here at HK. We didn't have that when I was in high school. We got it shortly after. So the community loves it. They come and support us all the time.
Yeah, you're an HK guy through and through. You played for the Cougars, and then obviously you were coaching. You were actually on Eric Becker's staff at HK for like the COVID year.
Yeah.
But to be able to be back coaching where you played high school ball, and obviously, just being coach of your high school team must be cool. But to have success, I mean, this is a program that did go to the finals in 2018, and you guys have kind of been working your way back. So that's got to be kind of cool. And not to count, your chickens or anything like that, but 5-1, nice start for your alma mater. I mean, that's got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it's special. It's a great opportunity. As soon as I came back when I was done in college, I had an opportunity from Coach Backlick. He's like, hey, do you want to hop on as a JV coach? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get my feet wet in coaching. I did a little bit of youth coaching when I was still in high school. So I got the bug then and then came back from playing and stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is something I want to do. Worked my way up in Coach Backlick's ranks there. Started doing a offensive coordinator spot around 2016. So I was heavily influenced in that state championship run there too with Coach Backlick, and just being able to see the ins and outs from his point of view too, as a head coach and learning from him. And then being able to work with Coach Becker too, when he came over that 1 year during COVID. We didn't get to play any games, but practice planning with him, prepping with him, being able to see that insight. Much respect to both of those guys, and learned a lot from them in the years. And then having the opportunity to take over, it was a no-brainer. I still live in town. My kids are in town. My wife and I both work in the school district here.
That's great.
So it's a special opportunity for everybody involved here.
You are just the fourth head coach in HK history. And then when you look back at it, you realize the last three have come just in the last 10, 12 years. I mean, Dennis O'Rourke had been there. He started it and was there forever. Geez, how many? It must have been 40 years.
He's in the 40.
40 years? Yeah.
He started the program up until Coach Backlick. He's a great guy, great coach, great mentor. He's still in communication with me, him and Coach Tenza, who was our defensive coordinator at the time. Those guys still stick around. They come to a few games here and there throughout the year too. So it's special.
When did Coach O'Rourke step down? When did he retire?
Coach Backlick's first year was 2014. So at the end of the 2013 season.
Right. So you played for Dennis. That's what I was getting. I know you were there in 08. It was your senior year, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head. So I mean, what was it? Was it like learning for him, a guy who had been there just forever and knew kind of the ins and outs? I mean, what have you taken from each of these? Because you've basically coached under all of them, right?
Right. Yeah.
What did you take from all of them, and how have you kind of incorporated your maybe your style in there as well?
Yeah, these guys, starting with Coach O'Rourke, he was a teacher in the building, right? So you saw him on a day-to-day basis throughout the school day. You saw him at practice as well. You knew his expectations. He wasn't the most outspoken guy, right? He was on the quieter side, but he led by example, right? And that's exact. Coach Backlick was the same way, right? Very stoic type figures. I'd say I'm not the most outspoken guy either throughout the day, right? I'm going about my business, doing my job, doing things I need to do. And then working with the kids as well. So to see how both of them, Coach Backlick came back as well as a teacher at the school. I worked with him too before I got my teaching certification finalized and got hired by the school as well. So just following in those guys' footsteps. And then when Coach Becker came in, it was a breath of fresh air seeing how somebody else runs a program, especially learning from his spread system when I switched over to the defensive coordinator for that season with him, just the game prep and the things that he was going into in case we were able to play a game and how to prepare. And that's something the coaches and myself, we really strive. I think that's something we look forward to week, preparing for our opponents. How are we going to attack them? How are we going to stop some of the best things that they do? And just now combining all that together with some of the things I like to do on the offensive side of the ball. We were a double tight, double wing team my entire life. We came back, started coaching that way. I brought the spread back with Coach Backlick from college, and we touched on some of those things. How do we mesh some of them? It's not easy when you have two completely different systems, terminology, lingo. How do we get all this back together, the nomenclature of it? And we've been working hard trying to fuse both of them together. They're weapons if you can use them correctly at the right times. A lot of those FCX schools are full spread teams, and now they get into double tight, double wing situations. So it's funny. Yeah. We used to get made fun of a little bit here and there, I would say, by some of the teams in the squad. You guys run 6 plays, you run this, and now we're able to do both successfully. So how do you prepare for that? You don't know what you're going to get.
I can guarantee you that if you run it well, and Ned Griffin will if you run it well, you run them over. They don't say that.
Right.
When you put up 55 points on them, yeah, maybe we shouldn't talk. We shouldn't talk, talk smack or anything. So,
Right.
I mean, it's been exceptional so far. I mean, looking down I don't want to look too far ahead here, but
we always look far ahead. This is why we have the coaches on.
This is why we have them on. Yes, indeed. But I mean, what would you like to see? I mean, what improvements would you like to? Let's start there. Start modestly. What kind of improvements would you like to see this group? What do you guys think you really still need to work on yet?
Yeah, I'd say after that Coggins game, much respect to Coggins and those players. A tough team. They played a lot of close games against some of the stronger teams in the Pequot this year. And we told our guys off that bye week, it was 15 days. That's a long time. Not being able to play and keeping high school kids focused and dealing with the stomach issue, all the things that go on in the schools in the fall here, the season, all of us are dealing with the same things and keeping those kids motivated. And that rust, it was there. That first half, there's no doubt about it. The first quarter and a half, we gave up. We should have scored again inside the 10, left one off the table. So then it's 14-14 in the third quarter. Guys, we got to play the ball that we've been playing throughout the first half of the year. And they did. And we've historically been a strong second half team, making adjustments in the second half, but really continuing to come out strong and take the lead, play from ahead. We don't want to play from behind, especially if you want to attack a team in a certain formation or a certain style. You're not necessarily always able to do that if you're down a touchdown or down 2 touchdowns in certain situations. So really coming off strong from the beginning, right? Just not falling behind and not to look ahead. Our guys aren't looking ahead. They know it's week to week here, but we don't want to be in the same situation that we were 2 years ago where we lose a tiebreaker. That's for sure.
Right.
2 years ago, we were 6-4 with a great group of kids and lost the tiebreaker at the end.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you this. I was there in 2018 when you guys won the Principals Cup at Valley. Turned out to be, was it? Yeah, it was 2018. You guys won, got into the playoffs on that final game. Crazy game. There was a hook and ladder at one point. Yeah, I mean, that game was just wild. But we look ahead. And as I look at the Class S standings, obviously you guys are in the mix, but Capital Prep, who you already saw, Ansonia, Woodland, East Catholic, Cromwell, who you guys are obviously going to see this weekend, Bloomfield, who you guys saw in 2018, obviously much different team, but program. Stonington's in the mix. I mean, there's a lot of this S division. Is not really like there's not like one or two teams where you're like, oh, that's it. It's not an Ansonia Bloomfield year. Kind of looks really wide open. So not to look too far ahead. But have you had a chance to look at the S division and kind of see, hey, we got some Pequot teams, we got some CCCs, got a private school in there. But and then you got the familiar faces, the Ansonias and the Bloomfields.
Right. It's a strong class for sure. Just looking at it top to bottom, those first 10 teams even going into the low teens there that all have an opportunity to potentially make it and be able to get into those top 8. It's a tough division. It's all around. And we know what we're capable of. We're hoping we get an opportunity down the road to be able to show everybody what we have in Class S. Like you said, we made that run in 2018. We were really hoping we were able to get in 22 as well, 2 years ago with that tiebreaker. Unfortunately, with NB, they got that spot. But that's something we remember. These kids that were there in 2022, they were underclassmen, but they knew what they wanted, and this group stuck together, and now they potentially have that opportunity. As long as we finish off the season, we know what we're capable of doing. Hopefully we have that shot at the end, and we're continuing it into December.
I remember that there was what game was that? It was, I don't remember, but it was at your place. I think you needed a win to get in, or Valley needed a win to get in, one of those deals, and it was just, heartbreaking. I remember for your kids.
Yeah, that was the Valley Thanksgiving game at school. We gave up the Morgan game earlier that year due to food poisoning that we don't ever talk about anymore. But that was a real thing. We had to play that Morgan game, and Coach Sullivan, he'll tell you to this day, he goes, "You guys had us," but we had guys that were not playing. It happened at a pasta dinner, so that was the one we gave up, and that tiebreaker would have. So go back and look at it, but that's the reality of the situation. Sometimes.
Yeah, well, how do you avoid that? How do you avoid the
no more pasta dinners?
No more pasta. Is that how it is?
No more team chemistry.
Or is it you got to taste it first, or what do you got to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, we still joke about that to the day. I feel awful even bringing it up, but that was just the reality.
I forgot all about it.
Yeah, so it still gets brought up to this day, and I'm like, guys, we're not talking about it anymore. But it's just one of those things. You got to take care of business week in and week out, and you can't allow these outside things to potentially happen and I don't want to say ruin it, but take advantage. Like you lose that opportunity due to something out of your control. essentially.
The way everything's set up now is that if you can take care of business early, and I'm looking at your schedule early, nothing was given here. I mean, Cap Prep, Stafford right off the bat, bang, bang. You're 1-1 at that point. You got Weaver. Then that was the North. That was the one. The North Brantford game, beating them up. What was it? 51 to where is it? Yeah, here it is. 51-6. Oh no, that's 51-21. So you scored 50 points in back-to-back weeks, which is crazy. But once you got to that point, then you got something here. And then now you're in a spot here, which, pardon me, coach, I'll say it for you. But you win this game, I'm pretty sure, you're going to be pretty much in, let's a pasta dinner happens. So, but I mean, for the last 3 games, I should say, not the last one. I mean, is there some excitement building after you guys have been kind of like, collecting all these wins, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The kids know what's at hand. We don't talk about it. The word doesn't even come up. I don't allow it to come up in the locker room. We got to take care of business week in and week out, and the kids know that. Like I said, they saw it years ago, so they know the drill with that. Looking ahead, those couple last games, none of them are going to be easy, right? The Valley game's always that Thanksgiving game, no matter what their team's records are. Yep. That's the rivalry week. That's been ours forever, and that's something the kids take a lot of pride in regardless. We were in a situation just like Valley was with my first year. We were a 2-7 team going into that one. We were up 17-0, blew the lead, and lost 21-17.
Yeah.
We ended up 2-8 that season. So again, records don't matter as you guys go down the stretch. You got to take care of business, and the kids know that, but they certainly are excited. They know what they've done and what they've accomplished so far this season. And like you said, they're not taking their foot off the gas.
Well, coach, that's going to be a real fun game. Principals Cup. What was that? Still Tuesday night? Your place, right?
Correct.
Yeah. This is your last home game. Before that game, they got to go on the road. They got to face Windsor Locks and Coventry, 2 teams that have been kind of struggling this year. But like you said, you got to make sure you take care of business there. You can't overlook anybody because Pequot up and down has been a really good conference. I certainly enjoy it. It's one of the last conferences, by the way, that actually plays a traditional league schedule. One of the last ones. I guess maybe just one with 2 divisions. None of this like power ranking stuff, really. It's pure. That's why I do adore it. So I must say, I wish we all did that still, but what are you going to do?
It's pure, but it's becoming very interesting with the Hartford schools and kind of the way
everyone seems to want to be like, it's like a refuge they're all looking for spots to get in. It's become like I don't know. But I mean, Cap Prep had nowhere to go, and it's better when Cap Prep has a.
I agree. It's very interesting.
Right. The competition's only gotten harder and harder as this Pequot grown and teams have merged or teams have worked into some of those co-ops too, from where it was years and years ago. It's tough competition week in and week out in the Pequot, and people underestimate the Pequot. But the Pequot, when they get in the playoffs, they've done very strong things. Look at Cromwell, look at Rockville, Stafford, us 2018, right? So there's teams that if you give us an opportunity, we can show you guys what we have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that 2018 game against Stafford. Hopefully, Coach Mazzone's not listening because I think that game still haunts him. I'm going to get a text message on Thursday. Why'd you bring it up?
I didn't bring it up. You did. So.
No, I did. 100% on me. Coach, just one more kind of before we wrap up here. I was telling Sean earlier when we talked about having you on how you were at the HK baseball game. Back when they won that first. You and I were just talking the entire time because we were in the same spot. You have a coach like Mark Brooks at HK. God. Obviously, he was the coach when you were there. I have no idea whether you played baseball for him or not. But you have a guy who's just been there forever and took forever to win a state championship. Won a lot of games. He has won a lot of games. He finally got that championship. Is there anything that you've kind of learned from him? And I mean, he, again, founded the program, has been there the whole time. I think 700 career wins, finally got his state title. And it just seemed like everyone was there to support him. It's a couple of years ago now. But, have you taken anything from him, learned anything from him?
Yeah, the whole community rallied around that, and they do every time they get into those playoffs. The Coach Brooks is an amazing guy. He's a great mentor, too, as well. I had him as a teacher when I was there as a student at HK. And that coaching ranks, I talk to him all the time in the offseason. He reaches out. He congratulated me when I got hired. And we have a great connection, respect for one another. He's one of the best coaches in the state, regardless of sport, right? And some of the things that he's accomplished, and we were really happy that he got that state championship. And he's been close to a few other ones, just unfortunately didn't quite follow through all the way through those innings. But those guys, they work hard, just the practice preparation. One of our assistant coaches that helps me on the offensive side of the ball actually coached with Mark Brooks for a long time with baseball, and just the way they go into game prep every week and what they do at practice and the drills and how to prepare for teams. It's just all things that we learn and pick up little things here or there. How could we incorporate this into our program? How does he handle this situation with a student athlete? And those things come up, and you have to learn. Sometimes you make the best decision, sometimes you don't. But what's best for the kid, what's best for the team, and what's best for everybody all around. And those are things that Mark Brooks is a pillar of that.
Mark Brooks, Dennis O'Rourke. I mean, legends, right? Legends in HK. I see Ben Talbot's tweeting scores at me every time you guys win. You know, we got proud alum. What's that?
We got his company Bird's Eye filming for us. So
yeah. Well, he loves it. He's always letting me know. Big proud alum. Wants to let me know how HK did. Yeah, he's filming for you. But good chatting up with him, and it's great. You know, so I did notice there's a Talbot on the team, isn't there? Right?
No, not currently.
Oh, okay. Is there one coming up?
There may be a younger one, but
I could have sworn there was one. All right, well, whatever. Anyway, all right, Coach. Well, listen, you guys have been off to a great start. This is a big game this week. Obviously, be there, be square, because Cromwell Portland, the standard bearer still. But there are a lot of teams chasing them. Cap Prep, obviously, and HK, and this would be a really big one. And going into that, regardless of who wins the division, right now it's inside track is Capital, but like you said at the start. Maybe a chance to see them again. You probably could see Cromwell again. So don't give away too much this weekend. All right, Coach.
Yeah, we're looking forward to the opportunity to play them in the regular season, especially with what's on the line. It's a great experience for the kids too. Regardless, right? You got to take care of your business week in and week out, but to be able to get a game like this and halfway through towards the end of the season is a big one too for experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and playing on grass, that might help if you get Ansoni in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
but they let their grass grow.
I don't think they're allowed to play on grass in the playoffs anymore, are they?
I think the semifinals is where the line gets drawn, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. Aren't semifinals at neutral sites now? I have no idea.
No. But I think it's they've tried to. There's a whole
the
thing.
lights rule.
There's a lights rule. You need to have lights, so that's one thing. They have lights. I think you do get a home game, and then I think it needs to be. After semifinals, I think semifinals is where because Cromwell, you need to have like locker rooms available, and that's why they have to move to Derby. So I don't know. Well, hopefully we don't get to that point. You said let's not put them there. Yeah.
No, we're saying it. Coach is not saying it.
Anyway, well, since Coach is not saying it, we're gonna let Coach go. Thank you, Coach. We really appreciate it. Tyler, you've been great. I can't wait to see you guys at some point in the near future. And hey, good luck and give them hell, right?
Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys having us on.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks a lot.